I think it's just going to get weirder and weirder and weirder, and finally it's going to be so weird that people are going to have to talk about how weird it is. Eventually people are going to say, what the hell is going on? It's not enough to say it's nuts. You have to explain why it's so nuts. The invention of artificial life, the cloning of human beings, possible contact with extraterrestrials, the systems which are in place to keep the world sane are utterly inadequate to the forces that have been unleashed.
Welcome back to Forbidden Knowledge News. I'm your host, Chris Matthew. Today my guest is Michael Feeley. If you'd like to make a donation to help with our film fundraiser for movie number 3, we have links right in the description. Anything is greatly appreciated. Any donation of $100 or more, and you get a film credit, as well as a pre-release copy of the film. Also, be sure and check out my previous films. Occult Louisiana is on Tubi, Roku, Apple, and a few more. Doors of Perception on Amazon Prime, and a free streaming service called Relay. We're booking guests for March. If you have suggestions or you'd like to be a guest, email me forbiddenknowledgenews@gmail.com. Today I want to welcome back to the show Michael Feeley. He is a former UK police officer, multiple experiencer, now an author that focuses on topics that surround profound esoteric knowledge. Michael, welcome back. How you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. Nice to be back.
It's great to have you back. Today we're going to be discussing your book, The Movement, Illumination of the World. It's a profoundly deep exploration of everything from the purpose of the universe and humanity to Nazca lines, the pyramids. You've essentially continued the work of Leonardo da Vinci, exploring creation of the universe, what God is, and why we are all here. It's a huge topic with quite a limited time to discuss, but we're going to certainly do our best. Before we get into this, it's been a while since you've been on. Remind the audience just a little bit about yourself and let them know how they can find out more.
Yeah, thank you. Just start with the website, really, which is michael-feeley.com, F-E-E-L-E-Y, michael-feeley.com. That's the website. That's the epicenter of everything, really. A little bit about me. I grew up, which was really a kind of very, very standard upbringing. Full-time mom, working father, what was considered a council estate. So it's really like the lowest of society, really. And my teachers at school kind of believed me to be substandard because I never kind of engaged in the classroom. I never asked for any help. I just didn't seem to want to be there and didn't seem to want to fit in. I spent a lot of time in my room by myself because I was really happy in my own company, in my own solitude. And it was a place where my mind was able to expand and wander. And this was obviously at a very, very young age. We're talking 6, 7, 8 years of age when these thoughts began to happen. When it was time for me to decide upon a career, I decided that I wanted to join the police, and it took a number of years for me to get in. But when I eventually did, I was a patrol officer, which meant that I was dealing with emergency calls. I was dealing with non-emergency calls. I was dealing with multiple levels of crime, from your very, very basic crime to your serious homicides and different things. And what it taught me was the art of investigation. It taught me how to follow the evidence. It taught me how to piece the evidence together. It also taught me how to be succinct in verbal and written evidential writing. Because when you go to court, the court is interested in the salient points. So I'm to the point and present the evidence and then get out of there. And that's really my style then, and it's my style now. And the reason that I left, I signed up for a 30-year career, and at year 17, I left the career because of lots and lots of otherworldly experiences that I was now being kind of pretty much every day or every night. And that varied from seeing portals opening up in the night sky and seeing unusual coming out of the portals, to having face-to-face encounters, to seeing all kinds of craft in night, to have clear orbs coming to my room with advanced technology inside them, to seeing shadow people, to having really advanced quantum equations in relation to many subjects, to having lots and lots of information about the ancient world and the reason for the monolithic and monumental kind of ancient sites. And what I recently discovered is that there was a couple in particular who had once incarnated on the earth as great scientists, who were actually working with me throughout my life. And I had no knowledge of this, but they were priming me and they were preparing me for when a third master could actually come into my life and continue my teaching. Now, the two that I was working closely with, but not knowingly, was Sir Isaac Newton, who some people will recognise as formulating the theory of gravity, and Nikola Tesla, who I'm sure all your listeners will be aware of who that is. Mm-hmm. Now, they are part of a team of this third master that wished to come in, which was Leonardo da Vinci. Now, I then discovered that in medieval times I was actually Gian Caprotti, who is better known as Salai or Sal, who was Leonardo da Vinci's personal scribe and student in medieval times. And even now I will experience time slips and go back to those times and go back to my former self. And it's Leonardo that wishes for me to continue the work that he never got to finish. So he has come back now, and we work pretty much on a daily basis, and he gives me lots and lots of quantum equations. I have to take a notebook to bed, a notepad to bed, because of all of the equations that's come into my head, and I have to write them down. I then have to decipher what they mean. And some of them are really complex equations, such as the cure for diseases, space travel, portal creation, how to use free energy capacitors, because not a lot of people realise that Nikola Tesla, also by his own admittance, used to get quantum equations in his dream state. But it was Leonardo da Vinci that was giving him those equations too. So the last person that Leonardo worked with in relation to his science, in relation to mathematics, was Nikola Tesla. Now the next person in history is me. So there's kind of a big gap in between the two people that he works with. and that relationship has really continued on. So that really, in a basic way, is me and the reason that I'm here.
So essentially, you became aware of your past life through a series of time slips, paranormal events, and contact with non-human intelligences?
But pretty much, plus some additions to that.
Yeah.
Leonardo come through it and by his own words said that he had to make some what he called a translational adjustment in order to be able to communicate directly with me. And once he had done that, he was then able to come in, and a lot of things were then revealed. And one of the first things that he said to me, because I asked, how deep does this go? And his reply was, how deep do you want to go? And I said, the deepest of depths. And that is exactly what is happening. Wow. So some of the things that he's telling me is absolutely out of this world. In terms of the secrets of his paintings, the secrets of reality, the secrets of history, the secrets of the world, the secrets of creation. And it's just absolutely this Hermetic master and his team, who are, advanced scientists. When all three of them are sending you information, it really does sharpen the mind, and you have to pick up your own pace in order to keep up with them. But my life has really been revolutionized by these characters that are now part of my life and were in the past.
Now, before we get to some of those secrets of the universe you were just mentioning, I want to go back to your experiences briefly and talk for a moment about the beings that you said you encountered. Would you consider these extraterrestrials or something else?
Well, the ones that I've encountered, you would fit into the phrase extraterrestrial. But extraterrestrials are just another aspect of ourselves in existence elsewhere. So we are actually looking at a different aspect of ourselves when we see them. But yeah, there's been a number of encounters. Some of it has been in lucid dreaming. Some of it has been in this physical world. And they are kind of both sides of the coin, but it is the same coin. And, you know, it helps if you realize that both light and dark are the same thing. They're just two expressions of one thing. So if you look at it as if, you know, the dark extreme, I've had experience where I've come face to face with a character who had black eyes, who had very taut skin, so you could see all of the cheekbones and all the contours of the bones of the face. Very extremely weird. His energy field made my stomach feel like a washing machine on fast spin. And this was kind of in the middle of the day, and no one else seemed, other than me and the two people that I was with, nobody else seemed to see them. But they walked into a cafe. If I describe the scene, but I was a guest at an event, and it was on a Saturday afternoon, and there were probably 150 to 200 people at the venue. And the way the venue was set out is you have the main high street, and then you have like a little open wooden door into a cafe. Now, when the door opens, it rings a little bell to alert staff that someone's walked in. So the bell rang, and this person came in, and it was the one with black eyes, the completely weird one, who seemed to be scanning the area with his mouth, which seemed a strange thing. It's difficult to demonstrate just using audio, but he then walked into the cafe where other people were present, and then he walked through another door, which was half glass at the top and half wood below, and he went into the event arena, where I say there was, you know, 100, 150 people in there, and then just disappeared. And the only two places that he could have gone is either back through the cafe entrance, which is where I was, so he didn't come that way, and the only other way was through a fire exit, which was in the event arena. But in order to get to that, he would have to walk in between the rows of seats, which were full, or he would have had to walk in between the tables of the stall holders, who were forming like a circle around the seating area. And no one saw him. He literally came and disappeared. So that was really, if you think about Men in Black, but this really was a man in black who was not from this world. So that was one of the experiences. You know, another one was in lucid dreaming, where with a lucid dream you actually know that you're in a dream, but it's not really a dream. We never dream. We actually go to another aspect, another reality. But in this lucid dream, I remember making comment that the house I lived in at the time was exactly the same. The rooms were exactly the same. And I walked into the then bathroom, the restroom, and as you open the door in the restroom, there was a mirror on the wall. And I walked into the restroom, saw the mirror, and all of a sudden there was a Palladian female that actually came out of the mirror.
Wow.
And we were having a conversation, but I was also aware that there was another female outside the bathroom. And I later found out that she was the guardian. She was guarding the space. So there's been a number of encounters. Even when I've been on duty on night shift in the police, you know, I was once witness to a landing, and it was kind of one of them strange nights where you knew that you weren't in control, and for a police officer to admit that they're not in control of the streets means that there's something significant happening. So there's been all of these different events, day and night, close encounters, seeing craft, seeing them come out of portals, seeing them just static in the sky in broad daylight, you know, over my hometown, and all of these different things. So that's really how it started and how my life began to change.
Wow. One day we're definitely going to have to do a show just based on your high strangeness experiences.
No, that would be good. As I say, it was strange enough to make me walk out of a career.
Yeah.
Because
I understand that.
When I left my police career in 2009, we'd just gone into the first major global recession. And there were a lot of people, and even people who I knew, that were actually losing their job because of this global recession. And everything was really, there was no stability in people's life. There was a lot of concern, there was a lot of worry. Now, I had a secure, completely secure career for life. And at the time that people were losing their job, I decided to walk out, voluntarily leave a secure job. Such was the impact on the things that were happening.
Let's get into your book, The Movement. Could you give us a bit of a synopsis of the book?
Yeah, the synopsis really is, I can only write when I have the crest of the wave. And there was a couple of times that I began to write various books and even have the cover done and even name them. But then I didn't complete them because it just didn't feel the right time. And then in November 2022, I was invited to do a talk at a venue in the UK, which was a beautiful kind of monastery. And a couple of days before the event, there was a lady that was walking around the venue taking photographs because there's some really ancient sites inside this venue. And when she looked back at the photographs, one of them, she could see an italic letter M. And it was not a trickery of the light, it is a clear letter M. And it was suggested that because I was doing a talk at this venue, that this M stood for Michael. But that never felt correct. It never felt right. And then a while later, when I was doing other things, looking into other things, I came across a group of new Knights Templars. Now, this venue, ironically, is a very sacred Knights Templar venue. And there's a group of new Knights Templars called The Movement. And their symbol is this letter M. And this letter M couldn't be seen with the naked eye, but it was picked up on camera. And their movement is really to illuminate the world, bring ancient knowledge back. So I called the book The Movement, Illumination of the World. And it is actually the original photograph, and I got permission to use it, which is the actual book cover. So that is the story behind the book, and now it's been seeded, now it's been created. So from that point on, I was getting lots and lots of contributions from Leonardo, and Leonardo actually wrote the foreword to the book, which is the first time that that's ever been done. It's a world first, and it's unlikely that it will ever be done again. Certainly not by Leonardo, but he agreed to do it. And basically, in what he's talking about in his foreword is observations of the way in which humanity acts against each other. And now, even in his time, this was the case. And he goes on to say that they send all of these things in which to help us. There are beings that have come from other places. There are depictions on monuments and monoliths. There are crop circles, and ironically, I've actually found messages contained within the sound of crop circles. He also he speaks about the Nazca lines. He told me what to do in order to decipher them, and I did that, and I've deciphered decipher the Nazca lines. So he was making all of these contributions, and he made the foreword, and he was speaking largely about humanity needing to get its act together and stop killing and fighting each other in order to return to the galactic community. And he was giving many examples of the things that have happened, people that have been sent specifically to assist humanity to move forward. And one particular name that he mentioned in the foreword is Nikola Tesla. And as I said, that there's a reason for that, because Tesla is part of Leonardo's team, his scientific team. And Leonardo worked with Tesla and gave him a lot of the equations, which he subsequently used in all of his scientific experiments. So that is really the foreword, and Leonardo was sent literally dozens and dozens of advanced quantum equations, which has taken physics from theoretical physics to advanced science. Now, I just got these in my head, and I recognized them as being physics equations because I'd seen them many times before. But I didn't know what they meant. And when I began to look into them, I began to realize that the majority of them are recognized physics. So I now began to realize that there's some validity here, that there's something really going on. Now, some of these equations have been passed on to various scientists, and they have validated them as being advanced science. And one of these scientists was a secret military scientist. So I then began to trust that the quantum equations that were coming through were actually real equations. And the book is littered with all of these advanced equations, taking you from using Earth as a free energy capacitor, how to create portals, how to travel through space, how to create this free energy system, how to cure diseases. There's just a plethora of quantum equations in relation to many different things. And again, when I began to look into the ancient sites, there's lots and lots of information that Leonardo was able to provide that explain these sites. But I also have memory of being at those sites with him as his scribe. And I am his scribe now, because in the past, in medieval times, he would work these things out. He would dictate them to Salai, which was me, and I would write them down for him. And many of his famous notebooks were written by me. And now, nothing has really changed other than my name, because I still do the same now, because all of the information that comes from him, I'm scribing and I'm writing them down, and I'm then presenting them. And again, some of the things that he's teaching me are the secrets of his paintings. What do these paintings really mean? What does Leonardo da Vinci actually look like? Because all of the images that we have in the public arena are not actually him. So we have lots and lots of people who are making the assumption that some of his paintings are self-portraits, but they're using an image that is not him to come to that false conclusion. So that it's just really a plethora of things that are just happening and continue to happen. And I'm just going deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper into the Hermetic principles, which is really the lost wisdom of Egypt. And it's just a wonderful, wonderful place to be in.
Speaking of the deep end, let's dive deep into the information from your book, starting with the universe's purpose.
Yeah, well, when I speak to people, often, one-on-one, face-to-face, or even in groups, I can pretty much guarantee that one of the main questions that always arises is, why are we here? What is our purpose? I feel like I need to fulfill my purpose, but I don't know what that purpose is. Every single person, bar none, has made that comment or asked that question. So let's go back to the universe. So we have dark energy, dark matter, that science has no answer for. But dark energy is the absence of electricity, the absence of light, which means it is the perfect state. which means it is balance. Now, in order for this balance to expand and grow and be able to see itself, it created imbalance, which is light, which is electricity. Because in all electrical systems, there is an imbalance due to an uneven power supply, an uneven power demand. So we have then the blackness of space, the black matter, balance, which creates imbalance, which is the electromagnetic spectrum of light and electricity. Now, this imbalanced system strives to evolve to become balanced once more. And when it becomes balanced once more, it returns as a greater balance. So you have balance, imbalance, greater balance. Now, that is a macro level. On a micro level, we have ourselves. So we come from spirit, which is balance. We fall into matter, which is imbalance. And during that period of imbalance, we have to evolve, we have to grow, and we have to rebirth ourselves in order that when we return back to spirit, we return back to a greater balance. So the matter, the light, the electromagnetic spectrum is the resistance for the balance to become greater balance. It is a resistance for spirit to grow. Now, the body that is responsible in our region of the solar system to regulate that direct current, to ensure that that current is monitored, to make sure it is at the correct levels to fulfill the universal plan, is the solar sun. Because the solar sun is electricity, not what we've been told by science. So I looked into this and then I thought, well, what is time? How does time fit into this divine universal plan? And what I realized is that you have mass and you have inertia. Inertia is resistance to motion. So in order to counterbalance resistance, you have to have a resistance to resistance. In other words, an electrical conductance that allows the free flow in order for this system to be fulfilled. Now, that conductance, that resistance to resistance, is what we call time. So time is actually an intrinsic fabric of the universe that enables this universal system. Now, any force that opposes friction and resistance is a horizontal force, which is why we perceive time to be linear, because it is a horizontal force. So that really is what time is and how time fits in. Now, when I had the equations for the cure for all sorts of diseases, I began to see a parallel between how to cure these diseases and how time works, how the universe works. And it was the exact same process, the exact same system of this conductance of electricity. So that, in a basic nutshell, is what the universe is. Now, as long as people are taking this opportunity to evolve, to grow, to expand, then they are automatically fulfilling the universal plan. It is as simple as that. So for those who are saying, well, I don't know what my purpose is, well, your purpose is to grow. Your purpose is to expand. Now, science tells us that the universe is striving for equilibrium. Well, that fits perfectly into what I've just said, because that equilibrium is the balance that it wishes to return to as a greater balance. Now, when the universe reaches that equilibrium, that is when the character called God is created, because the word God means balance. So this is the universal system of the plan and our part in that plan and how it brings in time.
Would you say that all moments in time are essentially unfolding simultaneously, and that there may be multiple versions of reality as well unfolding?
Yes, because we are multi-locational. So we are in multiple places at once, in different dimensions, in different timelines. And when we interact with these other things, we are largely interacting with other fragments of ourselves. So yes, there is, but the only place that there is zero time, where everything merges into one place, is 0 point, which is the fourth dimension, which I have also experienced. Anything outside of 0 point, there is no such thing as now, because you are always chasing the now. So the only place that the now exists is in 0 point. Now I say that the pyramids and the ancient monuments were built in the future, not the past. Because if you look at the universe, which has a cyclical nature, it works in cycles. What is beyond the future? The past. What is beyond the past? The future. So these monuments were built in the future at a time that we are moving towards.
Monuments like the Giza pyramid was created in the future?
Yes, because with the new understanding, the new perception of time, you can now see how that was possible. The Giza Plateau was built from sound and fourth dimensional hyperspin. Everything has a kind of toroid spin, and if it was from that toroid spin that the likes of the tetrahedron was created. So it is built in the future when you have this new understanding of time, and we are moving towards that time from where we are now.
Since you mentioned the pyramids and these monuments and megaliths around the world, it seems that there were multiple purposes for these things, but what are your insights into why they were built and some of the purposes behind it?
Well, the Great Pyramid is the epicenter. It is really the axle of the wheel. And when I've looked at the Great Pyramid, and when I've looked at the new discoveries beneath the Giza Plateau, and when I've looked at the chemical composition of such as the limestone casings, what you have with the Great Pyramid is a radio. It is a radio station, and it has an inbuilt antenna, and it is transmitting radio waves to Earth's ionosphere, which is then following the curve, which is then being triangulated. This is why lots of ancient sites form a triangle. It is then being triangulated and picked up by other antennas, which are your Stonehenges, which are your stone circles, which are your Bosnian pyramids, etc., etc. So the beams that have been seen coming from the top of the likes of the Bosnian pyramid are radio waves, radio signals. And not only does the Great Pyramid vertically transmit upwards, but it also transmits downwards, because there are cities underneath the ground. Now, some of these new discoveries, when I've looked at images of what they've seen, I recognized it as being what is known as a mechanical stress system. Now, a mechanical stress system creates piezoelectricity. Now this piezoelectricity is being transduced by the Great Pyramid into radio waves. Now, when you look at the plasma phenomena, plasma is also a radio wave. It is electricity. It is a radio wave. Now, scientists have recently reported finding plasma clouds above the Giza Plateau. Now, the longest that a plasma cloud has ever been known to last and exist is 12 hours. So, if modern science in the last weeks and months have been finding plasma clouds above the Giza Plateau, then there has been a transmission within the last 12 hours. And it is a radio transmission. Now, we have monuments and monoliths on the planets of the solar system. So they are communicating with the monuments and monoliths on the other planets, the different radio antennas on planet Earth, which are your monolithic sites, and they are also communicating downwards into inner Earth. So this is what the Great Pyramid is. It is a radio that operates like a computer which mimics the universe, but it has an inbuilt antenna, which Leonardo da Vinci tells me that there are crystalline blocks at the base, which are quartz batteries. So all of this Great Pyramid is a voltage storage, and it is that electrical voltage that is transducing into radio waves. So it is a radio station.
I've heard some speculate recently that the King's Chamber may have essentially been used for either astral or some kind of interdimensional travel, a gateway essentially.
Absolutely, yes. So is the sarcophagus, so is the King's Chamber, so is the Great Pyramid generally, and the other monoliths around the world. People have disappeared from Stonehenge. They've vanished, and it was witnessed that they'd vanished. I've been to the centre of Stonehenge, and I've heard Stonehenge sing.
Wow.
So these things are gateways. And when you are aligning these monuments to certain star systems, you are having a direct communication of an intergalactic nature. So not only are you able to communicate, but you're also able to travel there as well. So absolutely, yes, they are.
Wow. Now, earlier you mentioned the Nazca lines. Tell us a little bit about the information that you provided about this.
Yeah, again, it was one of those prompts from Leonardo that says, because he says in his foreword, and let me just read what he says. Just going to get to his foreword now. So he says that all I speak of is there for you to see in ancient monuments, in the messages we send for you even now in your fields of hay crop circles, which the people able to think will learn how to read. The Nazca lines, which can be read once you learn how to read them. Many layers exist in them. Soon man will be able to read and understand, as there are those channeling information from us to help you move forward. Well, that's me. And the channeling is coming from them. So it kind of prompted me to do various things. I had to draw a grid. I then had to put other grids on top of that grid at a diagonal angle. And what it enabled me to do was look at all of the images that we see on the Nazca in Peru. And I was able to attribute every single one of them to a constellation. So when I'd actually mapped out all of the constellations, I then followed a star map. And that star map takes us to the center of the galaxy, which is the origin point of creation. So the Nazca lines represent constellations that is a map pointing to the center of the galaxy. So the Nazca lines are a star map.
Would you say that in our ancient times, they had a practical use, that they were being utilized as such?
Yes, because the interaction was an open interaction. It was a full understanding of this galactic dimensional travel. And they were doing that as a natural process. So it wasn't, like it is now, where we're told that we're the only species on Earth, we're the only species in the universe. We are the only life in a magnificent universal mind, which is all nonsense. But in those times, they knew, and they've recorded that, they've documented that, and they've left these things for us to find when we get to our future.
As it relates to what lies beyond our atmosphere, let's discuss the moon a bit. I know you wrote about this in the book. What would you say are some of the most profound mysteries surrounding the moon?
Well, it started for me a number of years ago. I used to go quite regularly with friends, and I used to go walking through a forest at night. Now, this forest is out of the way of the public. It is out of the way of the roads or any kind of residential lighting. So it really was pitch black. And there was one occasion where me and a couple of friends were going through this forest. And I looked up at what we believe to be the moon, and I saw with my eyes a conic green grid coming from the bottom of the moon towards the earth. And I observed this for quite a while. Such as my mind is that if I see something I can't explain, I have to find an answer. I have to explain what it is. So I came back and I did my own physics quantum equation for what I'd seen. And that quantum equation revolved around angular velocity and angular momentum. And I found that it was these pulsating grids from the moon that are responsible for tilting the Earth at 23.5 degrees. So the moon is not the moon. I've actually located the true moon of Earth. What we believe to be the moon is a way station. It is an observation post made to look like the moon. And it contains an advanced soul pool. And Leonardo da Vinci is a member of that advanced soul pool of what we believe to be the moon. So the moon then is really an observation post and a way station. It is not a natural satellite. It was just put there for a specific reason. Now, what I've also found is that the mathematics of the moon, when I've done my own mathematics of the mathematics, I have found a binary code communication. Now, this binary code communication is happening between the Great Pyramid and what we believe to be the moon, which is creating what is known as an augmented reality. And an augmented reality is like what you get on a video game, where you overlay real life to make it more enhanced. So between them, they are creating this enhanced perception of reality through an augmented reality, through an overlay of the real world. And they are communicating in binary code. And this is all in the mathematics, the specific mathematics of the moon.
Earlier, we were talking about your contact experiences with what are understood as extraterrestrials. I've had many, many guests that have had contact experiences, claim to have been abducted by negative beings. Some claim that negative beings, such as reptilians, have infiltrated planet Earth to a certain extent. Earlier, if you said that they are aspects of us, what do you think is really happening with people's extraterrestrial experiences and on a larger scale in general?
What is comfortable for most people is when you say that there are chosen light ones who have come here to help. People generally are very comfortable with that comment. Mm-hmm. But if you then tell them that there are also chosen dark ones, because everything has to have an opposing force. Everything has to have a complementary opposite. They're not really opposites, the two expressions of the same thing, but in a dualistic perception, we see them as being two ends of the scale. We see them as being opposite. Now, the game for them is to realize that the light and the dark is the same thing. And when they realize that, that's the end of their role. It's the end of their purpose, because the game has been completed. So in the interests of these polar opposites, you have to have both what we perceive to be positive and what we perceive to be negative, which when you have a greater understanding, you realize that they are the same thing. But for the purpose of the game, for the purpose of the plan, we see them as being opposite entities. So you have chosen light ones, you have chosen dark ones, and they are fulfilling their own role, which is to be the chosen dark ones or the chosen light ones. But it is all an opportunity. It is a resistance for us to grow and for us to see. So you can look at things as being a negative experience, or you can see them as being a chance to expand. If I want to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I want to, I have the same muscles as he does. So do you. So does everybody. But why does he look so different? Because he went to the gym and he pumped weights. So in essence, what is he actually doing by lifting weights? He's using a resistance in order to grow.
So would you say that even the darkest of not only human behavior, but non-human intelligences and beyond, it's all part of this experience? They're necessary pieces of this puzzle.
Yes, because you can't have one without the other. So if you have the creation of one, you have to have the creation of its opposite counterpart. The way in which the game unfolds, it can't be any other way.
Let's talk a little bit about Nikola Tesla. You mentioned him earlier. What are some of the aspects of Tesla that you focus on?
Well, Tesla comes to me, and Tesla, just like Leonardo, has given me lots and lots of mathematical and physics equations, which I've found to be very, very consistent with the work that he once did. And even now that the quantum equations are different to the ones that he used, it takes me to the same place that he went to. So in relation to Tesla, again, it's one of these, I give you information kind of thing. Again, coming through life, I lived on a housing estate where all of the streets were named after scientists. I would look out my bedroom window and look at Newton Road, not knowing that I was actually working with Isaac Newton. When I was, before I realized I was working with them, I would sometimes have great urges. I had a great urge to buy a Newton's cradle, them metal balls that like a pendulum. I had a real urge to get one of those, so I did. I went through a period where I was really having almost an OCD with the number 3 for no reason. And then realizing that so did Nikola Tesla, because he would, before he would go into a hotel, he'd walk around it 3 times. He would only have a room that involved the number 3 or a multiple of number 3. So he also had an obsession with the number 3. So these personality traits were actually coming out in me before I even realized I was working with them. And it was kind of an energetic connection, in the same way that before I realized I was working with Leonardo, I had all of these deep desires and urges to buy lots and lots of prints of Leonardo's paintings, like the Mona Lisa, like the Last Supper, like Bacchus, like Vitruvian Man. And behind me there is a wall full of prints of Leonardo's paintings. And again, that was this kind of inner urge that I needed to do it. So I did. And again, that was an energetic communication. So Tesla's really there, and he's providing quantum equations which relate largely to the free energy system that he was working on.
Let's talk more about those quantum equations and some of the scientific aspects that those relate to, how they can be applied in our modern world.
No, absolutely. I mean, again, a lot of them are taking theoretical science into a more advanced place. An example of that is when you look at Einstein and his equation for relativity. Within that equation for relativity, Einstein accepted the fact that portals were possible, and he actually wrote that into the theory of relativity. He knew it was there, but he hadn't seen it, he hadn't experienced it, but he knew it was there based on his mathematical equations. Now, not only have I seen portals, but I also have quantum physics equations regarding how to create portals and how they are created. So there's a lot of things that relate to many different things in the scientific world that will advance modern science. So, they are significant quantum equations, and they can be used or not. A lot of the movement book, people have said to me, I don't understand the equations, and I said, well, that's for the scientists. There's a bit in there for everyone. There's mathematics, which is for the mathematicians. There's quantum equations, which is for the scientists, and there's other parts of the book which is for everyone else. So it's kind of these scientists have come through and given information for scientists now to advance themselves with. So it's
And
a means of communication.
You said you've already started presenting this information to living mathematicians and scientists?
Well, it was presented on my behalf because I know people who are scientists who have passed it on to associates of theirs, and not only did my contacts validate it, but they also sent it to other scientists who have also validated it. So that's when I began to trust the information.
What were some of the reactions from the scientific community?
Well, the ones that have had sight of this wouldn't be named, because when you start going outside of the official narrative, you then start to have your character assassinated. You then begin to have your credibility assassinated. You then begin to find yourself a pariah in your own field. So they were willing to say, yes, we can validate this, and we can say that it is an advanced form of some of the things that we already know, but we can't put our name to it. But I didn't want them to put their name to it. It was just a case of, am I going mad, or is there any truth to this?
Is there any specific applications that these equations can currently be linked with?
Yeah, as I say, that they can be linked with medical science, microbiology, space travel, free energy. They can be paralleled and connected to all of these things. It takes Einstein's theory to a more confirmed level. What he suspected, I can now prove. So there is practical applications in the scientific world. If I was just to go to, Edith, who was shopping at Walmart, it will probably have no relevance to her. But if you pass it on to the right scientist, then you can advance modern day science. But you've always got your beyond mainstream, which obviously know a lot more than what the mainstream does. But in terms of mainstream, if they wish to use that science, then they're quite welcome to, because it's been passed on for their benefit. And it will take them to new places.
Tell us about the secret seed. What is this?
The secret seed. When you start looking at alchemy, one of the things that is there to realize is that symbols and allegories are really a key to understanding. And when you begin to look at geometric shapes, when you wish to study the rapid movement of shape in the universe, it has to become static in order for you to be able to observe and extract the data to understand. But that is sacred geometry. That is movement, universal thought that has become static, so you can actually observe it. You have the likes of Fibonacci and the golden ratio, which is a mathematical construct that enables us to understand nature. So when we start looking at geometric shapes, and you start looking at the Bible in its true guise, which is as a textbook and a manuscript for mystics and initiates, you will find that a lot of biblical characters hide a geometric shape. Now, a couple of examples is the Bible tells us that Noah was 120 when he built Noah's Ark. If you want to be a churchgoer, you will believe that a 120-year-old man built a wooden ark which contained all of the animals, insects, birds and everything of the world. Or you can look at it through different eyes. 120 is pointing us in a certain geometric direction, and that is the pentagram, which is Adeptus Minor. Because when you add up 1 to 5, which is the pentagram, and you go 1 times 2 times 3 times 4 times 5, it gives you 120. So the biblical 120 in Noah relates to the pentagram, which is the symbol of Adeptus Minor. When we look at the character Moses, Moses means from 6. So we're now looking at the hexagram, which also gives us the Star of David, which is an emetic principle of rotation. Because when we rotate from the upward triangle and we then turn the triangle all the way around, not only does it become the Star of David, but we can also do a full rotation. And that is the way in which we can actually observe ourselves, by rotation. So Moses then becomes the hexagram. So when you have the pentagram and the hexagram together, it is 5 and 6, which gives us 11. The hexagram is Adeptus Major. Adeptus Minor and Adeptus Major gives us the 5 equals 6 degree, which is an emetic grade that deals with magic. Now number 11, 5 plus 6, is the number of magical union. So this is Noah and Moses hidden in 2 geometric shapes with the mathematics to do that. Now if I take another geometric shape, which is the Vesica Piscis, which is the 2 circles interlinked, which is also the Venn diagram. But when you look at the inner ring, the mandorla of the Vesica Piscis, not only does it form the shape of the Christian fish, but it also has a mathematical size. From left to right it is 153, and from top to bottom it is 265. So when I added the 2 up, 265 plus 153, I got 418. Now in mystical circles, 418 relates to a word which is Abra Hadabra. Now Abra Hadabra is a word that is used upon the completion of Magnum Opus, which is the great work of alchemy, the Philosopher's Stone. So we now have the magic in all of those 3 geometric shapes. Now the 153 is the numerical value of the name Mary Magdalene. It is also the 153 fish that Christ caught with the apostles. It is all relating to geometry. Now when you get the word Abra Hadabra, the first 5 letters A, B, R, A, H gives you Abra, which was the original version of Abraham. Now Abraham, the Bible calls the promise of the seed. This is the seed. It is the hidden golden seed, which is the alchemical gold, the transmutation from lead to gold, which is the divine spark within each and every one of us. So in those few geometric shapes, we have a large proportion of the Bible. And that really is the seed. There's many other seeds that I mentioned. The word Joseph means to harvest the seed. The word Christ means seed, because the seed is significant in itself, because you put the seed in the darkness of the ground, and at the right time it grows, and we grow at the right time. So this is the seed, this is the hidden seed. It is the golden seed of the alchemical process, which is the transmutation of yourself.
Do you think that there was a man that existed that represented what we understand as Jesus Christ?
Yes, he was an emetic master called Apollonius. And he was a wandering mystic that performed miracles, etc., etc. And the image of Christ was taken from Apollonius, who was an emetic master.
Would you say that what's biblically portrayed is accurate of his life?
No, because it is all the parable and the allegory that hides a hidden message. And if you look at the Bible as a textbook for initiates to ascend, then you see a completely different Bible.
Right.
And when you look at it with mystical eyes, and you see, just like I've demonstrated with Noah and Moses and the Vesica Piscis and Mary Magdalene and Abraham, If you begin to see it as a book that teaches initiates and adepts the path of initiation, then you see a completely different book, because it cannot be read as a book. It is not historical fact. It didn't happen in the way in which the Bible says it happened. Right. These things are all anatomical processes that are happening inside you when you are on the path of spiritual evolution. So the life of Christ is really a teaching of how to conduct yourself. It teaches you what the perfect spiritual man would look like. Because it's difficult to aspire to something that you have no, shall we say, comparable to.
Yeah.
So the story of the character of Christ gives you that benchmark, gives you that threshold. This is what I'm aspiring to be. This is what it looks like. Right. But in terms of physical characters and historical stories, historical events, that didn't happen. And even Israeli archaeologists have come out in the mainstream and said, after 70 plus years of excavation, we can find no physical evidence of the biblical Exodus. That's because the biblical Exodus is an anatomical process that happens within you as part of the magnum opus, the alchemical greatwork.
That's fascinating. Michael, we're definitely going to have to do this again. There's so much more we can get to. But to close out, earlier you mentioned the Templars. Many of the researchers that I've had on the show might disagree with you that the Templars are here to enlighten and bring us knowledge. Many believe that there may have been an infiltration within the Templars, or maybe they were originally not working on the behalf of God and humanity, but possibly darker forces. And that what spun out of the destruction of the Templars, the secret societies like Rosicrucians, Jesuits, are here to prevent us from gaining said knowledge. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, my thought is that there's lots of people who are coming on and making various claims of different things. I'm sure everybody has heard lectures where people have been talking about Baphomet being satanic. They've come on and said, the hand horns are the devil. They're talking utter nonsense. It's because they have no understanding of what these things are. When you look at the Knights Templars, they were originally formed to infiltrate the Vatican and bring it down from the inside. And you had the outer sanctum of Knights Templars who were truly Catholic. But you had the inner sanctum who pretended to be Catholic. There's a lot that they were not the Knights of Christ. They were Johannites. They were followers of John the Baptist, not Christ. They were knights who had an understanding of what Christ is, which goes against what the Vatican was trying to portray. So straight away, there were problems. Now, when you look at the Bible, we are told that the Knights Templars were named after Solomon's temple, which involves King David. But when you look at the word Templar in Arabic, it means David. And the word David relates to the hand. Now, the hand is the philosopher's hand, which is the magician's hand, which means that you have control and mastery over the material world. So the Knights Templars were a little bit more deep than just being knights, just being in the Crusades. It goes much deeper, and it is a program in itself. But the same as everything that has ever been created by man on this world, sometimes things go the wrong way. Sometimes you will have individuals within an organization that are not pulling in the same way as the original intent. People talk largely about secret societies and hidden meanings. There are not secret societies and there are not hidden meanings, because everything is right in front of our face. What makes it secret is an ignorance to what it means. So it is our ignorance that preserves the veil. not secret societies. Christianity was once a secret society until it was accepted as a state religion. So yes, there were members of the Knights Templars that perhaps weren't as integral as they should have been. But that's the same in every walk of life of humanity.
Right.
But the Templars as a group were there to bring down the Vatican from the inside. And there are a group of new Templars who are coming back to illuminate. So I really don't listen to much of what other people say, because quite frankly, there's too many of them saying the wrong thing.
Would you say that the era that we're in now has a spiritual significance as it relates to the awareness of the collective consciousness and the information that is coming out about so many hidden things?
Yes, now is an extremely significant time, because inside the Great Pyramid there is a specific date or specific year that is mentioned. And that specific year is 2001 AD. And what that signifies is the 17th 360-year cycle, where lost knowledge of Egypt was set and timed to be re-emerged into the world. So this is now. So that is the significance of now. It is a time where all of these past things are resurfacing once again.
Do you think that we are headed in a good direction?
I think that there are more and more people who are beginning to head in the right direction. I think there will always be a facet of society that no matter what evidence is presented to them, they can never be open-minded enough to actually expand themselves. And that is usually the people of religion who have not advanced mentally in thousands of years, because they're still believing the same things. The ones who wish to move on, the ones who wish to achieve something, going back to the universal plan of evolution, the ones who wish to do that will have the opportunity to do that, because they will find themselves in a different timeline. The ones who remain stoic of mind and stoic in action will remain where they are, but there will be consequences of that. So I always say to everybody, evolve, learn, take the opportunity to grow, because there will be positive feedback and positive things for you for doing that. And you are then following that universal plan. You are fulfilling your role.
That's a great note to end on. Michael, thank you so much. This was fantastic. Before you go, remind the audience how they can find out more about you, pick up your books, get access to all your content.
The best way is the website, which is michael-feeley.com, and Feeley is F-E-E-L-E-Y. But if they just type my name into the usual search engines, then I will pop up somewhere, whether that's a video, whether that's an interview. But the website is the place to get in touch with me and to browse around. That's the epicenter of where you need to be.
Excellent. Well, Michael, thank you again. And until next time, everyone, have an excellent evening. We will talk again tomorrow. We'll see y'all then. Hello, friends. I am so excited to tell you about Independent Media Token. Independent Media Token is a brand new way to show your support for independent media without having to donate a dime. Independent Media Token is a cryptocurrency on the Solana blockchain designed to generate funds to promote and foster the growth of independent content creators, allowing them to engage in their art without having to worry about being demonetized. Through a network of media partners, of which you yourself can become a part of, Independent Media Token's goal is to ensure the powers that be can never cut off all of our areas of funding and censor the only free voices left in the world. Join the movement today. You can pick up Independent Media Token using Phantom Wallet or the Solana wallet of your choice, where you can easily swap your Solana for IMT. Grab some IMT today and remember to always know your team. To learn more, visit independentmediatoken.com or use the link right in the description. If you're looking to start your therapeutic microdosing journey, but don't know where to start, especially when looking for the highest quality ingredients, including nootropics, and what you'd expect from a true microdose capsule, check out our friends at Brainsupreme. They offer the absolute highest quality ingredients so you can start your microdosing journey knowing that you're getting top-notch ingredients. To find out more, visit their website using that link right in the description, and you can get 15% off your entire order. Are you and your family prepared for an emergency? Maybe the fake alien invasion? Now is the time to prepare yourself and your family for any event. Check out Prep Starts Now. Their mission is to provide high-quality preparedness products that empower individuals and families to be ready for any situation. They're committed to delivering reliable, trusted gear to ensure your safety, security, and peace of mind in times of need. Their product selection is carefully curated to provide you with the essential gear you need to stay prepared. From emergency kits to tactical tools, every item is chosen for its reliability and practicality. Prep Starts Now understands the importance of family, and their goal is to equip you with everything you need to build a solid plan for your family's preparedness. In today's ever-changing world, being prepared is more important than ever, and Prep Starts Now is here to help you and your family stay ready with quality products and practical guidance. Use the link in the description and get 15% off your order.